Hello, and welcome to another episode of Enter the Minds of Nadine and Vera podcast.
Hello.
Today, our subject matter is going to be dating with red flags or red flags in dating. But first, I'm going to ask Mom how she's doing today.
I'm well. Thank you for asking. I had a week of gardening and I still feel good.
Awesome. Well, I just got back from shopping with Kayla, trying to get some clothes for our Beyonce concert when we go in July. To get an outfit, I got my outfit. Kayla got a shirt. But it's a start. But before we get in our subject matter, I'm going to be asking Mom some slang words and see if she knows what the meaning of these words are.
Let's pray first.
Okay.
Father, in the name of Jesus, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for waking us up this morning. Thank you for watching over me and my children and extended family, no matter where they are. I pray, Father, that you touch my mom and sister and my entire family, and they are reminded that you are in control. I just want to say thank you and hallelujah. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Okay, Mom, do you know what extra means?
Okay, so if someone say, oh, you being extra, that means that you really just acting like you're overreacting.
Being
Basically,
dramatic.
being dramatic.
Yes.
Drama queen, king, whatever.
What about the GOAT? Do you know what that stands for?
Okay, so my understanding of the GOAT is like you the top of the line, the best of the best.
But do you know what the acronym means?
GOAT? No.
The greatest of all time.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what like LeBron James or
Right.
Stephen Curry are considered. I know you know what bougie means.
Well, I've been bougie all my life. So bougie is not necessarily a negative thing. It's just that you really pay attention and care about the way you carry yourself and dress and things, your surroundings. So, yeah.
Okay, bougie can mean rich, luxurious, fancy, special. What is spilling the tea?
Well, I just learned that one from my niece, Tira. Spilling the tea is basically gossiping about someone else's business or telling their business. Because, I wish you could meet Tira. She is awesome.
Okay. You say this to me a lot. You do you.
When I say you do you in the content that I'm using it as, usually I'm making a recommendation or suggestion, and then I'm reminded that, hey, you can make your own decision. So when I say you do you, it means just that. You do what you want to do.
Exactly. What does vanilla mean?
Vanilla?
Vanilla.
I have no idea.
Okay, it's used to describe something as ordinary, boring, uninspiring. Like if they're saying, last week class lecture was really exciting, but this one was a little vanilla for me.
Wow, that's a new one for me.
Okay. What about wallflower?
Okay, so a wallflower is like, I know back in the day when they called you a wallflower, it meant that you were basically at a dance or something and you're standing up against the wall near the wall and you're not really getting into the dance. You're not dancing or you're not even participating. You're just standing there watching everyone.
Yes, I'm someone who is shy and tries to remain unnoticed at parties. What about salty?
Okay, so salty to me means that if I say you are being salty, it just means that you are being a little mean or short.
Okay. What about slay?
Okay, when you say slay mean you did that. It's like if you get dressed and you have on this outfit and your hair and everything done, you look in the mirror and you say, wow, I have slayed this outfit.
Right, so it means anything awesome, especially a successful accomplishment. An example, Beyonce slayed everything on her tour night.
Right.
Okay, what if someone says jabroni? Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
Is okay, this is an example. Jessica is trying too hard to be cool. What a jabroni. Jabroni means loser or jerk, being bad. It's commonly used as an insult.
Wow.
What about that's lit or that's on fire or that's fire?
Well, that's just mean that I don't know, on top of things, you energetic and you go for it.
Let's get this party lit.
That means you just you motivating everyone to get into the situation.
Okay, means awesome. Okay. What about throwing shade?
Okay, you had to teach me that. According to my children, I throw shade all the time, but I didn't know it was shade.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing shade means like you say something to them that may sound like a compliment, but it's not really a compliment. It's kind of like a shade. It's like, for instance, if I say, Tanya, you know, I really like that show that you always watching, but I'll pass.
That's a little bit of light shade, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And have you ever heard of no cap?
No.
Okay. That just means you're telling the truth. Basically, you're not lying.
No cap?
Yes.
CAP?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Like no cap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Educate me.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to get in. I think that's enough of the slang today. We're going to get into our subject matter, which is
Oh, I got one question. Is it still okay to say off the chain?
not,
Off the hook?
not according to your grandkids. No.
Why?
They don't even like me saying LOL. And that was done before they were born. But
So what do you say instead of LOL? LOL.
I mean, I still say it. They just don't like me to say anything slang or use abbreviations at all.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
off the hook is no brainer. No.
Okay.
Okay. So you can start, Mom.
Okay. So advice is always certain to be ignored, but that's no reason not to give it. That's Agatha Christie wrote that.
Yes.
Let me repeat it. Good advice is always certain to be ignored, but that's no reason not to give it. Agatha Christie. What do you think that means?
Um, People are always willing to give advice, but that doesn't mean that just because you give me advice doesn't mean I have to accept it. And most of the time, people don't listen to what people, the advice people give. Or even if you give advice yourself, you might not listen to your own advice. So.
That is true.
And a lot of times, people don't need advice; they just want you to listen to what they're saying, but they don't want advice. Actually, they just, want
Exactly.
to be heard.
Exactly.
So today we're going to be talking about dating red flags. And we're going to give you some examples.
In dating, red flags are warning signs indicating unhealthy or manipulative behavior, such as controlling behavior, disregard for boundaries, excessive jealousy, or mistreating family and friends that should be taken seriously.
So I've done a lot of dating in my life and definitely have overlooked a lot of red flags. You want to see the good in people. You want to give them the benefit of the doubt. You don't want to necessarily change them, but you're hoping that they want to change for you. And a lot of times people don't know that red flags exist until they're out of the situation. So controlling behavior is definitely one of the biggest red flags out there in a relationship. This can include trying to dictate what you wear, who you talk to, or how you act, which can lead to more serious issues down the road.
Okay. Now, I loved your dad as Senior, Terrence Sr. But he was all that. He dictated what I wore. I remember when we first got married, he had me frowning at people because I have a friendly personality that comes across as flirting to others. So he had me frowning, at people instead of, myself. And, you let things like that get away because when you're in love, you say, okay, I want to please my my husband or my partner or whatever, but that's controlling.
And tell me about the story one day you said you was going to the beach and one day you just was like,
Okay, this is a true story. We were stationed on the island of Oahu, so we was at Waikiki Beach, and we would go to the beach like 3, 4 times a week. We loved the beach. I didn't really get in the water. My babies were small, but I just loved sitting there, meditating, watching the ocean. It's nothing like it. Anyway, so this one particular day, we walking down the beach, and I had on blue jeans and a somewhat thick short sleeve shirt, and I just felt so fainted. And it was because my husband told me, you're a married woman with children, you don't need to be wearing shorts. And I listened to that maybe about the first year that we were there, but that day I had an epiphany or whatever you want to call it. I looked at my husband and I said, you know what? There are plenty of short sets that I can wear that are nice and decent, that is respectful. So I immediately after that beach visit went shopping, bought 3 or 4 sets of shorts, and one of them was a little shorter than I knew he would like. And from that day on, I wore shorts to the beach, and that's another example of he controlled me.
I want to read the story real quick from r/red flags. Is this considered a red flag? Is this considered a red flag if a guy, your partner, tells you not to wear makeup and says that you are beautiful naturally, barefaced? Also, that it's okay to wear makeup but not too often because he loves your natural beauty. Please enlighten me. Is this a red flag?
Okay, again, that was another thing. When I met Terry, and maybe I shouldn't have called his name, but anyway, when I met Senior, of course I was wearing makeup every day. I made it a point to have my makeup on. He said nothing, but as soon as we got married, he was like, you're beautiful without makeup. I just love watching you in your beauty glow without makeup. And of course, I stopped wearing makeup. And I believe, after the fact, it's a little red flag because, they want people to know they have a beautiful wife, but they don't really want men looking at their wife. I don't know. That's my feeling. I may be wrong, but it's a red flag somewhat.
But to be fair, some of that came from his religion because he was a Seventh-day Adventist,
And they didn't wear makeup.
they believe in just natural beauty, simple, simplified. Your beauty is the best, I guess. I'm not saying that correctly, but okay.
Yeah.
Next red flag: disregarding boundaries. A partner who consistently disregards your physical, emotional, or personal boundaries is a major red flag. So when you start a relationship, you should have some kind of boundaries, like what you don't like. And if you see your partner like excessively stepping over those boundaries, you need to pay attention to that. I don't have an example
Well,
in
I
my
do.
personal.
I'm
You said
old.
that quick.
I'm old. Okay, so without using any names, I dated the second love of my life for over 20 years. And, after the fact, I recognized that he crossed boundaries. I was going to night school and 4 days a week, and I could look up and he would be just standing there watching me. Or he'd just show up at the house at an unusual time. And what was funny was he put this special sound on his truck, that made his motor sound a certain way. So of course I knew the sound of his truck. And there were times I would just hear him passing by the house.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really protest it because in my mind I'm like, this man really loved me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was crossing boundaries.
But you didn't really set up boundaries. You didn't verbalize your boundaries.
I did. I said, I want to know when you're coming.
Okay.
I would not call you. You want to talk, you call me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't want to get caught up in calling a man and then he act like he didn't want to talk to me.
Right.
I had my boundaries, but I didn't really protest the ones that I just mentioned about just showing up because I wasn't up to anything.
Right.
Anyway, I thought it was funny. I'm like, you wasting your time, buddy. It was funny.
What about excessive jealousy? I've had an exes or exes that have been jealous. They want to know what you're doing at all types of hours, who you're talking to on the phone, and um, even jealous of your kids' time. They're not having your undivided attention, and my kids are always been number one. So if you have a problem with me not giving you all of my attention and me doing stuff with my kids, that's a big red flag that I never accepted. What about you?
I'm sure there was jealousy going on, but like you, I just ignored it because if it was time for my kids or I wanted to do something else, I did it. I after my divorce, I was a single woman, and I would not be tied down to waiting for your phone call. And if you say to me, that's before cell phones were, lucrative. If you say to me, I call you and you weren't home, where were you? I taught my boyfriend, if you ask, I'm not going to tell you anything. If you don't ask me where I've been, then I just might share that with you. That was something I developed right away.
Well, I know I've even been jealous in relationships, but it wasn't. It was a red flag, and it just let me know it was time for me to get out of that situation.
For example?
Just seeing guys doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, that would make you jealous. Like maybe you actually physically seeing them talking to someone else in front of you, even if it's just friendly, a girlfriend, a girl that's a friend, or just their behaviors that might lead you to be jealous. That's a sign that maybe I don't need to be with that person.
Yeah, if it's any kind of disrespect, because let me use this as an example. When I was married, of course I was a home mom, but we would go out somewhere all the time. And an example would be like a female would come up to my husband and he would literally stand there and talk to them and they would talk to him and not even acknowledge that I was standing there. To me, that is disrespectful.
Exactly.
When I used to have to, because I was a pay administrator, call occasionally different one home, I would say, hey, ma'am, how you doing? Would you pass this information to your husband? Because that was respectful. And in most cases, they would say, okay, he's right here. You could talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a coworker who would call and say, hi, may I speak to Jim?
Mm-hmm.
And then she wondered why the reaction was a jealous reaction because you making it personal.
Right.
You didn't, even though it was just business. So yeah, you have to be respectful.
What about trash talking exes? Constantly talking negatively about past partners can indicate unresolved issues. I had an ex who always talked about his baby mama, and how much he disliked her, and how much she did him wrong, to the point where I had to just tell him, like, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I don't want to talk about her every time you're on the phone. I really do believe he had like some pent up unresolved issues with her. He might not have wanted to be with her, but he definitely had unresolved feelings.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
This is a big one: mistreating family members and friends. If someone disrespects your loved ones, this is a potential sign of a red flag. Okay.
Yeah, and like another example would be if you disrespect your mother.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. Then that's a big red flag. If you look at a man, I'm just going male, female, whatever, but if you look at your partner and they just constantly disrespect the head of the household or the matriarch or whatever, that's a big red sign. That means if they don't respect mom or they don't respect their sisters, then that's going to spill over. That's a big red flag.
A lot of guys do this next one, gaslighting. Making you question your sanity, memory, perceptions is a form of manipulation and is a major red flag. Most of my exes have gaslit me to the point where when I brought up an issue or there was a problem, they would turn around and make it seem like I was going crazy. Like if you was like, okay, I feel like our communication is not the same as it was. Oh, you're tripping, and what's wrong with you? Or no, no, you didn't see me talking to someone at the store. That was all in your mind. I was just saying a friendly hello. Or guys would make you go crazy. They literally would make you feel like you're the ones cheating when they were the one cheating. They would turn around and be like,
Well, another example of that is flipping the script.
yeah,
They will take what you say and flip it around and make it appear to be you as opposed to the issue being with them.
oh no, I'm not the one cheating. You're the one cheating because you since you brought it up and since you're thinking about it, it's probably you cheating with someone else. Come on, dude, right? Or yes, just making you feel like you're just overreacting. So that's a big one. Most guys do this. So love bombing. Have you ever been love bombed?
What's love bomb?
It's an intense and rapid display of affection followed by a shift in behavior, and it can be a tactic to trap someone in a relationship. So I feel like a lot of guys do this. Like the first 3 months of a relationship, they tell you what you want to hear. They tell you, "I love you. I want to be with you for the rest of my life." And then after about that 3 mark, where when they start showing their true colors, and then now all of a sudden they don't want to be in a committed relationship. No, I never told you that. No, we're not 100% faithful to each other. Like they just changed the script. And so they love bomb you at first, and then they change it to where they're just not acting the same. So.
Well, maybe I haven't been love bombed because in my dating world, if a guy tried to talk to me, it took him about 5 or 6 months to even get me to agree to go out with them because, if they didn't really try and show me that that's what they really want to do, they could take me to the movies, they could buy me dinner, but not even come in my door. No, none of that.
Right.
And I remember this guy, trying to talk to me, and he was nice. In my mind, he was just a friend. It took him about 5 or 6 months for me to say, okay, I guess you can come in.
Yeah.
And I figured in that time, I don't see the red flags, then maybe you don't have any. That doesn't mean they don't show up later. Because sometimes men just like a chase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Lack of communication. If your partner is unwilling to open up and share their thoughts and feelings, this can be a sign of an emotional unavailability.
Well, if we separated and didn't date a guy because of communication, we would always be alone because in my dealing with every man, they have a problem with communicating. They want you to be an open book, but they keep stuff to themselves, and you have to find out the best way you can. And if you ask them about it, they say, you're nagging.
If you ask too many questions.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you won't ever be in a relationship if you paid attention to that flag.
Yeah, communication is key, and you do have to figure out your partner's communication level and
decide what you can deal with,
what you can tolerate. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Rushing into commitment.
Pressuring you to make big commitment early on can be a sign of controlling nature or a lack of genuine interest. Can you elaborate on that? A lack of genuine interest?
Like if a guy say, like if you're saying, I just want to be friends right now, and there's like, no, I want to be your boyfriend right now, or let's get married today or tomorrow, and if you don't get married, you don't love me, or, if you don't be with me sexually, you don't love me. So that could be like rushing into commitment or trying to force you into commitment when you're not ready. Because when you're in a relationship, it should be equal both parts saying that they want to be in a relationship, and if you don't feel manipulated to be in one.
So what's the lack of interest? How did that fit in?
Um, Good point. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay.
They might say that you're not interested in them if you're not going to be in a relationship. That means you don't like me enough if you don't want to marry me right now.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Lack of empathy.
A partner who consistently fails to understand or acknowledge your feelings can erode the foundation of any relationship.
Yes. This is again when you come to your partner with the issue that you have. I've dated someone who was a great person, but at night when he started drinking, you could just tell that his attitude would change. And when I would try to bring it up to him, he was saying that no, this is all in your head. I'm fine. I'm not acting weird. I'm not being aggressive or I'm not talking too loud. That's you just like you said earlier, nagging, or you just don't want me to drink, stuff like that. So they're not like literally taking into consideration your feelings, and they're trying to make you feel bad for even questioning or mentioning your issues up to them. And that again come back to communication. You guys both should be able to communicate how you both feel to each other without reciprocation or without a big fallout.
Well, if you are with someone that really drinks too much, that is going to happen, because my understanding is, because I never understood, well, why can being an alcoholic just, ruin your life, when I've actually witnessed one of my bosses who hit rock bottom. And so I did research and I asked psychologists who happened to be one of the soldiers that worked there. She said that when you drink, you really, the problem is there, but it makes you feel like you really don't care.
Exactly.
That means if you have a financial problem or problem with your kids or spouse or any situation, you just in there, I really don't care. And this knocked this person down where he got so bad where he really didn't care about coming to work. And oh, by the way, I used to think he was good at just making sure he hydrated because he drank a lot of water. And coming to find out, I believe it was gin he was drinking even on the job. And, he was really a nice guy. He came in the office and he had to tell us a joke and all that. And looking back on it, I could see how the alcohol in the beginning began to affect him. And it was about 3-4 years before he really hit rock bottom. But thank God he came back up.
Oh, awesome. That's a good story to end it.
Yeah.
A good way of him coming back up.
Mm-hmm.
What about always talking about themselves? Like never asking you about your day or how you're doing, but only talking about their problems and what's going on in their life. Has that ever happened to you?
Well, it was this guy that was so pretty. I'm talking beautiful. That was trying to talk to me. He was a twin. I said, I can't talk to you. I'm not interested. And he was like, why? I said, you're too darn pretty. My thing is, I don't want you to sing praises to yourself, because I honestly believe that you should leave that to someone else.
Yes.
Even when you're successful in life, you don't need to go around telling people, well, I did, so I did that, because they already know. Let them praise you. And if you just start talking about, a perfect example is, I've been the first in a lot of situations. The first GS-12 in the South. In my command, I was the first GS-11 in the Midwest. First this, first that. But I'm not going to tell you that, I was the first black this or that.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my mind, it's a soul. And then the ones who know, if they want to say, hey, I'm really proud of you because you made Chief Warrant Officer 4 or whatever, then that's great. But why do I need to go around saying, hey, I did this, I did that? It's a turn off.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you my man or an associate or whatever, to me, when you sing praises to yourself, it's a turn off.
Well, I think it's a limit. I think it's okay to sing praises to yourself, but how much are you doing this? And are you asking about the other one, about what's going on with them?
Do you do that?
Sometimes.
Give me an example.
Like I'll say, I'm Latanya Vera Scuniers. I know that I'm all of that or something like that, but
I'm talking about. I'm the one that always tell anybody who listen, my daughter is a registered nurse.
No, I don't like that.
Whatever, but you never talk about the accomplishment. And you always kind of like frown when I do because I'm so proud of you.
No, Mom, anytime we go somewhere, especially if we go to the hospital or if she's sick or if I'm sick, first thing comes out of her mouth is, my daughter's a nurse. And I'm like, nurses, we don't like for other people to know that we're nurses, especially in the hospital, because it could either go two ways. They might, of course, if you tell another nurse you're a nurse, they're going to treat your family better, hopefully. Or they're going to think that you're going to be a handful because they're going to be like, oh, she's going to ask so many questions or just be over like on top of you. And I'm totally not that way. Like I like to just keep it to myself. A person should treat your family with respect no matter if they know you're a nurse or not. So no, I don't like it when Mom tells everybody I'm a nurse. At all.
Correction. I don't say my daughter is a nurse.
I say my daughter is a
registered nurse. Because there are different levels of being a nurse, and I love all of you, whether you're a caretaker or LPN or whatever. But yeah, I'm just proud of that. And guess what? My son has a master's degree in engineer, and when I'm sick, he's the one that's asking 50 million questions. His fiance is soon going to be
a nurse practitioner.
A nurse practitioner. So I'm surrounded with medical-minded people, and I don't have to say anything. Matter of fact, most of the time I just won't talk to them. I let the kids talk to them.
Is that a red flag?
It's a red flag that if you ask, if I check in, you ask me what's going on, I tell you. That's the when they first do your vitals, and then the doctor come in or the nurse come in and they ask you what's going on, and you tell them. And then the doctor come in, they ask you what's going on, then you tell them. That's it. I'm not telling anybody else anything. It pisses me off. Read the chart.
To be honest, she doesn't like to even tell anybody anything. If I'm in a room with her, she's quiet. She looks at me and she wants me to talk for her. Okay, so that's a red flag that she doesn't even want to tell them what's going on with her own body. And then so sometimes I'll sit there quietly to see who's going to talk first, but it's usually me.
I always wait you out.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she's like, I'm sick, I shouldn't have to talk. I'm like, you need to let them know what's going on. Anyway, moving on. Another belittling you or making you feel bad is also a red flag. If your partner makes you feel like you are the problem or belittles you, it's a big, big red flag.
I'm not going to stay around long enough. If you try it one time, that's it anyway.
And then cold and emotionless.
A partner who is consistently cold and emotionless in various situations can be a sign of emotional unavailability. I've had that happen to me. I had gotten back together with this guy that I dated in high school, and it was so sweet initially. They came to visit me in Kansas for a couple of weeks, but I caught him a couple of times just in a daze, and you could tell his mind was far, far away. That was unavailability. And true enough, he just simply changed his mind. Mm-hmm. And I don't know for the life of me why, and this is male or female, you can't just say, why, hey, I'm gone. This is not working out for me. Why does it have to be you pulled along or
yes,
or you ghost with no reason?
You know what ghosted means?
Yeah, I know what ghosted means. It's called no matter what. You write, call, whatever, they're not going to respond to you.
Yes. It's also a red flag. I dated someone who was like Monday through Friday. I heard from them almost every day, but on the weekends I wouldn't hear anything from them. And it took me like a couple of weekends to realize, hey, he's ghosting me on the weekends. Like he must be with someone else or doing something he's not supposed to be doing because wouldn't hear from him again until Sunday night. But Sunday night he would want me to come over Monday, Tuesday, but Friday night, Saturday night he'd be like, oh, I was with my cousin or went to go visit family. I was in my early 20s or middle 20s and realized, okay, this is a red flag and had to get out of that situation. Another red flag, if your boyfriend, exes, is calling you, that's a red flag.
If you say that again?
If your boyfriend, or who you think is your boyfriend, have one of their exes call you. I've had an ex-girlfriend of one of my boyfriends called me, and when I asked him how she got my number, he said, oh, she must have just looked at my phone. How was she able to get to your phone was my next question. That's a big red flag.
So basically, Amanda, what is that, Moshe? Said if you ignore the red flags, embrace the heartache to come. I say again, if you ignore the red flags, embrace the heartache to come. Amanda Moshe. Basically, when you see red flags, you need to evaluate whether or not they're tolerable.
Exactly.
You're not going to change your partner, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever. You cannot get in a relationship and expect for them to change. You need to be ready for heartaches or don't get in it at all.
Yes.
And this is my big one. If you're with a partner who gets angry quickly, that's a no-no. Because you stay in that relationship, they're going to go from being angry to putting their hands on you. I've watched other people go through that situation. My example is this guy I was dating was so nice. He really was. That's all I saw for months. Just the best. Loved the kids. We would take them to different little vineyards to have fun, you name it. Mm-hmm. So this one particular night, I think Tanya went on a Girl Scout trip, and Terry Jr. and we were over to his house. Mm-hmm. And he was like, why don't you spend the night? I said, okay, I'll give it some thought. But then he got a call that his brother was coming in and his girlfriend was coming with them. Mm-hmm. And so I politely say, you know what, I'm not going to be in a situation where, it's two couples with my young child. I'm going to go home, okay? I'll see you later. So I get home and I call him, say, hey, I made it home. He was like, oh, okay. Then it was supposed to be, we hung up, but he forgot to hang up. Mm. And he called me all kinds of names. He was so obnoxious. And I just held the phone and I listened. Mm-hmm. For about 15 minutes. It was on and on and on. That this. She thinks she better than anybody, you name it. So when he finally hung up the phone, I called him and I said, I want you to know I heard everything you said, and this relationship is over. Mm. I didn't play with that.
It's kind of good that he showed his cards up front. Mm-hmm. So that way and it's better to know than not know.
Don't waste your time.
Exactly. That's probably why I'm still single. My mom taught me how to be too. Well, I'm not single anymore, but that's probably why I was single for a long time, because my mom taught me not to take crap off of any guy. So yeah, got to be a strong, independent woman, and vice versa for guys as well. So.
Well, caveat. My daughter really don't take anything, and if she get bored, you out of here. She just not that kind of person that's gonna hang around if she see red flags or whatever. That's not to say you gotta walk on water or tiptoe. There are flags you could label, red flags that she would tolerate,
Yes.
but it really is important to know that it's better to be by yourself than to have someone make you feel that you are not important, to make you feel less about yourself. If you can't love yourself, then you can't love them. And guess what? Julie loved Julie.
And ladies, please go for the good guys. There's nothing wrong with going for the good, sweet, kind guys that are dependable. Took me a long time to realize that, but finally realized that. And
yeah, I used to say, "Oh, he's a good guy. He's not gonna last." My daughter liked bad boys.
Used to.
Yes. And the bad boys. Then she would get in a relationship and thought they would change. However, she didn't take mess off him. But a good guy, it would be, okay, me and so we're gonna break up. Why, Tanya? He's just too nice. But she was trying to take a bad boy and make them nice. It doesn't work like that.
That was in my 20s and 30s. I'm a mature woman now, and
I'm sure
I know my worth, and I know, how people should treat me. And luckily, I found someone that's going to treat me well. So
yeah, and I'm so happy.
Yeah. Okay, I want to read one more story before we get out of here. It says, "Are these red flags? I've been struggling with my relationship because my boyfriend keeps doing things that make me uncomfortable, even after I told him how I feel. The problem is that it's all subtle. He's not openly mean or dismissive, but his actions still don't sit right with me. I need an outside perspective on whether I'm overreacting. He makes inappropriate jokes and doesn't stop when asked. He constantly makes jokes that are sexual, offensive, or just out of place, even in front of people like my mom or teachers. I told him multiple times that I'm uncomfortable, but he keeps doing it. Even his mom has told him it makes her feel uncomfortable, but he just brushes it off. He avoids serious conversations. Whenever I bring up issues in our relationship, he goes quiet or says he doesn't know what to say. That's happened to me before. Instead of actually discussing things, he just says he's afraid I'll leave, but then nothing changes. He doesn't always treat others with respect. He's often rude to teachers, giving them orders instead of asking politely. He plays fight with his friends and sometimes doesn't stop when they clearly want him to. One friend eventually stopped talking to him, and my boyfriend doesn't understand why. He reacts poorly when authority figures set boundaries, acting like they're overreacting instead of respecting their limits. I feel disrespected, but I don't know if I'm overreacting. I know he's still young and learning, but I feel like I shouldn't have to teach him basic respect and boundaries. He has also shown me that he can change certain behaviors, but he keeps crossing my boundaries even though he acts guilty afterwards. Am I overreacting, or is this relationship genuinely unhealthy?"
Unhealthy.
Yes.
And I watched that happen to someone that was very close to me, that would do the sexual comments and jokes that made her uncomfortable, made me uncomfortable. They just weren't appropriate. And when she addressed it with him, didn't change, And the bottom line is, when you're a child, you're raised. And whatever you learn that is acceptable as you grow up, it's instilled in you. So getting in a relationship, you're not the mama. They've already been raised.
Exactly.
So again, it's not going to change just because you think it's going to change. Sadly, but true.
Yes. And, not overreacting to authoritative people. That means when they're at work, they always have a problem with their boss. When their boss tells them to do something, they feel like it's a big deal, it's a big problem. I don't understand how people can't just do what they're told at work as long as they're not being disrespected themselves. So that's a big red flag as well. So those are just some red flags, and we're not saying that. I know I'm a red flag sometimes myself, but you just have to know what you can tolerate, know your self-worth, and go from there.
Name one of your red flags, and I'll name one of mine.
You go first.
If I'm talking to a guy, I don't care if he is just awesome. But if he make the comment, oh, you was raised in Georgia, I bet you can cook. End of conversation.
Yes, my red flag is I like doing stuff. I want to go out, but then I also like to be home. Like I say, I want to do something, but then my red flag is not knowing exactly what I want to eat in a relationship or where I want to go. But then when you tell me where you suggest, I don't want to do it. I want to do something else. I don't know if that's a big red flag or not, but
no, I'm the same way. When it comes to eating,
yeah.
But I have my specialties that I can cook, but I'm not one of those in the kitchen cooking and worrying about what I'm going to cook next. And if you approach me in a relationship about me knowing how to cook, I'm done.
But see, mom can cook. That's a red flag of mine too. I do not cook. Don't have any desire to cook. I mean, I'll wash the dishes afterwards, but I'm not no interest. My kids are grown.
Well, men know how to cook these days. Your son and your daughter can slay.
Oh, she's using these slang words, guys.
Yeah, and your brother can slay, but I didn't teach him how to cook.
Taught themselves.
They taught themselves, or they paid attention to their grandma, dad's, Terry Journey did, and it's amazing. I grew up in Georgia in a little small country town, and you would think I would be the one that can cook. But my siblings that grew up in Miami, they're the ones who can cook and not me. It's kind of funny. It's just not my forte.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for listening to our red flags today. And you comment and let us tell us your situations where you've been in a relationship that you saw some major red flags that you ignored until, what is that quote says? If you ignore the red flags, embrace the heartaches to come. So we don't want anyone to have a heartache. So recognize the red flags as soon as possible and,
Get the step in.
And get the step in. And hopefully there's more green flags than red flags.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode. Follow us on Spotify and listen to us on YouTube at Enter the Minds of Nadine and Vera podcast.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.